So hey guys, we are with Unica, founder of User.co. It's a social platform that utilizes NFTs. I'm also here with my good friend Patrick, and I think the best way to kind of start off these podcasts is just to go over to you, Unica. If you could give us your background and a quick kind of summary of User Co. I'm sure we can get into the more gritty kind of stuff later.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me here. So, my name is Unika. I have a kind of an eclectic background, so to speak. I'm actually Polish, but I moved around, lived kind of all over the world. I moved to Ireland. That's where I got my degrees. Then I moved to Canada. That's kind of where I am right now, and that's where User is based, my company. I am a co-founder of User. User is a social networking app. We do have NFT functionality, but we actually started out in a DeFi space. So there's other elements of User that are kind of like more dApp like, and we have kind of deep roots within the crypto community. My just to speak a little bit more about my background, because we kind of started chatting about this right before we begin to record. I actually started as a writer. I've written a novel. I've published some short stories here and there. I find publishing industry is like so difficult to break into, though. I have some background in publishing as well, and in online literature. I kind of follow that space a little bit too. The reason why Tom and I decided to start User, and that was in 2017, 2018, actually, so quite a while back, was because we're both creators. So, I have more of a background in writing, and I love visual arts as well. But Tom's background is music. He's a synth musician. And I used to actually work for him with a previous company called PMF Entertainment. And we used to run a website that was not unlike, Diply or BuzzFeed. Um,
Mhm.
and that website would, we would basically purchase traffic from influencers and just, I don't know, get like millions of clicks per day to that website. However, we were kind of at like the tail end of all the traffic sharing that Facebook allowed way back when, right? So what we've seen happen is that as we were growing this website, even though we were getting millions of hits per day, we could not grow our revenue. And it turns out that Facebook started blocking these types of, means of traffic sharing. And then eventually they just changed their privacy policies. So nobody could share anything that they didn't have a hand in creating on Facebook. And all of a sudden, like all Facebook influencers got fired because companies were just afraid that they were going to get their accounts banned, right? So that's kind of where we were at that time. And we saw this happen, like, because we were so new at that time. That was 2016, 2017. We've seen kind of the writing on the wall that they were going to just ban these accounts and make this stop. I mean, a lot of that had to do with fake news and all that stuff. So what happened was that we just decided to get out of it altogether, and we decided not to play that game, and to build something that was completely different, that in fact allowed for monetization via social media. Because like the main pitfall that we see over and over again when it comes to social media apps is that they're designed for growing traffic, growing your reach, growing your audience. None of them are designed for you to be able to monetize. So this is the reason why we wanted to create a social network that was inherently designed with monetization in place, because we think about social spaces online as cities. And what cities have, they have means of you to get a job, and earn some revenue. Whereas when it comes to social networks, they don't work like that. The way they work is that, yeah, sure, you're able to get exposure, and then you are able to monetize outside of their own system that they've designed. Like you can get sponsorships and stuff like that. But at any point, the social network controls your access to everybody else, so they can say no, please stop. And they can cut you off, they can ban you, they can get rid of your account. There's all sorts of stuff that they can do. So we came from coming from creative backgrounds, both of us. We really agreed on this point that this cannot continue, and we wanted to just make a change and see if we can have a go at it. And it's been years now, and we're still trying. So that's where we are right now. But that's like a little bit of a background on User and how we started and why we decided to start this app.
Awesome. That gives a nice kind of overview there. What is it that user does specifically in terms of you know what's the like ecosystem that enables somebody who uses the app to be rewarded for their content creation?
So what we did, that's a really good question, by the way. It's We designed a reward system that's built into the app. Um, so I'm just gonna give like a quick overview and just stop me if you're confused at any point, because we have a few different like types of like tokens,
Okay.
and sometimes it can get confusing, especially with their naming. So we have gems in the app. Gems essentially um, are used like the same way that likes would be used, except if you give somebody a like on Instagram. Like I don't know how many likes people gave me throughout my whole career on Instagram. So like people are not really able to reap any rewards from that system, right? Like it's just kind of like a cloud thing.
So,
So what we want to, yeah, go ahead.
so I was gonna say closer to like karma on Reddit, where it
Yeah.
slowly accumulates over time.
hmm Yeah, so basically that's kind of what we've created. We have a system though where, like, because it's a like the way we designed the system, we wanted this to eventually become a cryptocurrency token. So had to make sure that there were sort of gamified rules in place, and made sure that the system worked in a way that is kind of designed. So the way it works right now is that every single day when you log into the app, you get what we call gem rocks, and these rocks are basically useless except for the fact that you can actually give them away to people. So you have a certain pool of it every single day, and you can use them to reward your favorite content creators. And the more you use the app, the more you get. But there's a limited supply still, and you obviously cannot gift yourself. You can only gift other accounts. So when you gift somebody, that gem rock converts on their end into a gemstone. So people are able to then keep their gemstones. And we're adding more and more utility into like how they're able to then use their gemstones and convert them. And for example, like one of the ones that we added so far early on was like the use of certain hashtags. I think the use of hashtags on social media is kind of tricky because they're a very good tool for categorizing stuff, but people just use them willy-nilly. And like if they see that some hashtag trending, then they would just like dump a whole bunch of content that's not even relevant on that hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure that there was a kind of like a cost associated with that as well. So that's just like a one of the use cases. But basically,
Mm.
um, the, when we designed this app, 2018, we could not have this system running solely on the blockchain. That just was not possible. It just wouldn't work because of the issues of scalability, and just things are just not fast enough. And we've done some testing, and it was just no way with the volumes that a social network can experience that this could actually run smoothly. So the gemstone and a gemrock system is actually just running in our own database. But then right now we're actually very soon launching what we call gem diamonds, and gem diamonds are actually a cryptocurrency token, and we're releasing more and more information about how gemstones are going to be converted to gem diamonds, and where people are going to be able to spend them, get liquidity, all the good stuff.
Cool. And you've had quite a long kind of journey, and one thing that's kind of interesting to me is essentially your kind of pivot towards crypto. Um, and I mean, I suppose we can go into like the bit more technical stuff later, but like, why do you think User Co is good on crypto, for instance, and why not just a normal database?
So I mean, there's a few different reasons. So first of all, it's just user. So we just launched our web app, that's user.co,
Yep.
and that's where we have our web app. But we actually are mobile app first. So we have a fully functioning application that runs both for Android and iOS. And we just launched the web app. So the web app doesn't even have the full functionality of the mobile app. Like we have everything that you would expect from a social network in our mobile app. So the reason why we had to launch the web app is mostly to do with the connecting wallets. It's quite difficult to connect something like MetaMask on the phone when you have you would have to have two apps talking to each other. So what we do is we connect via MetaMask browser extension. So that's kind of why now a lot of people are hitting the website. But I just wanted to clarify that. So you were asking about why we pivoted towards crypto, do you mean like from the previous company that we were running, the website that I was describing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a few different factors. There's another co-founder. He's sort of a little bit less involved in the day-to-day. He's kind of like our early venture capital. He put in a lot of seed into this project, and he calls himself a futurist, and he is. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he was on Dragon's Den wearing giant exoskeleton. He's actually quadriplegic, and he rehabilitated himself using exoskeleton. So he's all into like what the future can bring for the society, for everybody. And he was basically fan of Bitcoin and blockchain since day one. So he really wanted to do something with crypto, and he kept saying like, this is the technology you guys see, this is the technology you guys see. And we were like, okay, let's look into this. And then we did, and we were hooked. It's to me personally, it's absolutely astounding, like what blockchain can do and the possibilities. And we just knew that you cannot, like, the whole monetization layer for the internet was essentially forgotten, right? We know when everything started, like there's a reason why when things like Napster came about, people just stopped making money. I mean, creators, right? Like everybody all of a sudden can download anything and listen to any song. And what about these people making money for what they're creating? So when we started diving deeper into blockchain technology, we understood it not only as a means of creating sort of digital currency that kind of lives within the internet natively, but also other assets and how you can link those assets and the ownership of those assets with that type of token. So like when we really got into it, that was about the time when CryptoKitties just took off, and we saw CryptoKitties and we were just like, this is the thing, and that was way before NFT wasn't even an acronym. Like people just called them non-fungible tokens. They had more time, I think, back then, so they just used the full name.
Yeah. So, how do NFTs work into the app, like as it stands today?
So, the way we've envisioned this app is that we wanted to have a marketplace where creators can actually post their content and they can store it as an NFT.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few other functionalities that we're working on as well, in relation to specifically non-fungible tokens. But that's the first step. We are right now actually talking to a whole bunch of artists and recruiting even more specifically for the launch of our marketplace, because I don't know if you guys know, but we just ran a pretty viral giveaway. So what we decided to do, I'm just going to answer this in like a kind of a round way, I guess. Yep. What we decided to do for the launch of our marketplace is to create a 10K generative project. Like the NFT avatars, they're super popular, and we were like, everybody's making them and people seem to love them. So why not just use that opportunity and create one of those collections as like a promotional piece for the launch of our marketplace. Mm-hmm. And I think it worked. So we did a massive giveaway a couple of days ago. We gave away 1,000 out of the 10,000 of the avatars. We call them next gems. And we wanted to run this giveaway for 24 hours. All of them were gone in 6, and people kept messaging us like well into the night. Are they gone? Where are they? Like, can I get one? And it was madness. That's why, I'm just like all over the place in the last few days, because basically in the last couple of days, our Discord grew from 400 people to over 2,000. So, and that was like 48 hours. So it just really, really blew up. And this is when we launch our NFT marketplace. One of the first things that we're going to put there is the rest of the next gems collection. And the reason for that is like we were using a lot of these things as like our test bed to make sure that everything works, the smart contracts work, the minting works properly. Mm-hmm. And if we think that everything works really, really well, we're going to open minting for the public as well. And anybody who has a user account will be able to start minting their pieces on the MoonRiver blockchain. So
Do you want to expand a little bit
mhm.
just on what MoonRiver is and why you chose that sort of chain as the one you're deploying the marketplace on?
Absolutely. So, we've looked into Ethereum for years now, and actually, we have an OpenSea collection. So, a few months ago, we launched a collection on OpenSea just called User. I think at this point, everything might be sold there. We were selling basically art that was on User via the collection, just having personal agreements with artists, and it was just kind of our test bed, seeing how that would work out. And what we were planning to do is essentially like OpenSea has an open API, so anybody can use it. So we were just using their API to like connect the Connect user app and just create that on Ethereum. And there's a couple of things. There's the gas fees that just within the last few months they have been absolutely insane. To the point where I just like there's so much artwork that I want to buy by people who have been talking to us and sharing their works, and they're just such amazing talented artists, and I just can't afford to buy I don't know, a painting that's $100 and then pay another $100 in gas. It's just insane. So we had to just very quickly try to figure out what the solution was for this. We had conversations with Immutable X. We've looked at Polygon as well. However, we do have our like one of our earliest advisors. He works who worked actually, I don't think he works there anymore. He actually accepted another position. He worked at Parity. I don't know if you guys know Parity.
I'm not
So
familiar. I don't know if Grid is.
also that's the company behind Polkadot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they like we've known of Polkadot for a long time as well, like basically one of our first days in crypto, because some of our advisors have also had connections with VCs that invested in Polkadot. So we're very, very familiar with this project, and we like what they do because the scalability is there. Like the way they design their system, and actually Polkadot was designed by Gavin Wood,
Yep.
who was one of the founders of Ethereum. So he wanted this for Ethereum, but I think at some point the roads parted there. And he started his own project called Polkadot. And it's basically an infrastructure for blockchain, in the same way as Bitcoin is an infrastructure for the cryptocurrency. Then Ethereum is an infrastructure for smart contracts, and Polkadot is an infrastructure for blockchains. So it basically aims to create an interoperable system of connected blockchains, so they can all talk to each other. Because right now, I think one of the biggest problems that the blockchain ecosystem is facing is that things just don't communicate properly. So it's kind of like, if you compare it to the history of the internet, again, like the 1990s, where you had to do some crazy things to connect one thing to the other. Like things were work kind of in a silo. So that's how blockchains work right now. They're kind of in a silo. And if you want to move assets across blockchains, it's a pain. So we're basically in talks with companies who allow this type of functionality, moving assets cross-chain. And we talked, to people at Parity. We talked to our advisor who worked there, and he says, "Guys, you should talk to Moonbeam. Like they're an excellent team. They're going to allow smart contracts on Polkadot." And some people are just like criticizing Polkadot that because Polkadot natively doesn't allow smart contracts. But I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding of what Polkadot actually is. Polkadot is not supposed to provide much more functionality than the consensus system. So like every blockchain, Bitcoin has proof of work and Ethereum has proof of work as well. Some of them have moved to proof of stake. Polkadot is essentially a relay chain that allows for governance across multiple blockchains. So on its own, it does not support smart contracts, but then team at Moonbeam, that's what they worked on and that's what they did. So they essentially allow developers who been working on Ethereum and they maybe don't think it's scalable to continue, or they want to do something else, to move onto Polkadot using their existing smart contracts. So you can just use Solidity and you can You don't have to write in Rust, because I think Polkadot is written in Rust. Sorry if I'm getting too technical. Please stop me if I'm talking too much and
No, no,
ask
no, no.
questions.
No, I think this is very good and enlightening, and I think it ties into a lot of kind of like decisions that a lot of crypto people have to take into consideration.
Mhm.
And your description of like Polkadot definitely clears up a lot. And just to touch on
Thank you.
that, does
Mhm.
I can't remember its name, Moonbeam,
Mhm.
does it have a working EVM currently?
So actually, so Moonbeam. So here's where it gets even more complicated and even more fun. So right now, Moonbeam isn't working yet. So Moonbeam is a Polkadot parachain, but the way the system works is that I don't know. Have you guys heard of Kusama?
Yes, we have. Yeah, I
Okay,
have
so
anyway.
Kusama is a Polkadot canary net, and it's basically like a test net for the entire ecosystem. So it's supposed to be faster, more sort of agile, and um, what this two chain system kind of seems to carry over into other Polkadot projects. So what Moonbeam is doing is they will launch their Moonbeam blockchain on Polkadot. However, right now they're running their testnet, which is MoonRiver, and that is deployed on Kusama. So basically, it's kind of like these, multiple different chains, and the reason for that is to make sure that things work appropriately before
Yeah,
you move them into the main blockchain, because Polkadot is a lot slower and is designed to be a lot more secure, whereas when it comes to Kusama and the testnets, they're supposed to be faster, and you can do things a lot. You can basically move things a lot faster through the systems, just to test them. So MoonRiver is essentially that type of testnet, and it is compatible with Ethereum and EVM. So does that answer your question?
yeah, no, definitely. Cool. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you about um, essentially, you mentioned on one of your documents that you want to create um, have user content as NFTs. Could you
Mhm.
just expand on that, shortly?
Yeah, for sure. Um, so I think this goes back to the whole idea that creators should be able to monetize their content no matter what type of content they're creating. I mean, right now we're sort of in the space, the NFT community that it's creating amazing artworks, but there's all sorts of online creators, and we just want to give people the opportunity to create different types of content and then be able to immediately monetize it. Like there's all sorts of viral videos, or um, I don't know, like TikToks, or there's influencer Instagrams. There's all sorts of content that people could be monetizing in various different ways. Like right now, you see like the original memes getting minted as NFTs, for example, right?
Mhm.
So if people have the ownership to their content, if this is in fact the original content, and User is a platform for original content, like we have people posting unoriginal content, but that's not what, like it says so right in our terms and conditions that this is not what we want, that's not what we allow. So we're trying to just create a culture that reinforces that this is the type of content that you would mint as an NFT. It has to be created by you, and you have to have full rights to it in order to be able to mint it. So like we just wanted to make sure that we also had these checks and balances in place that would stop bad actors, because we've already heard a bunch of times about people stealing artworks from other creators and minting as NFTs on other platforms. Like that's
Mhm.
already happening. So there's a combination of being able to verify that you're original creator and that kind of stuff. So um, but at the end of the day, the the biggest problem with the NFT community and crypto community in general is the usability is still not there. I mean, it's way easier to use something like OpenSea today that it was to interact with a lot of crypto platforms like 3 years ago or something. But still, it's not as easy as you would use your social apps. There's a lot of kind of roadblocks that you have to jump through, and a lot of education that you have to do. So our mission has always been to create an app that's just like as easy to use as anything that people will be used to already, but also allows you for those monetization features. So what we envisioned in what we call one tap NFT is that you can mint an NFT just as easy as you can post, a picture on social media. So that's kind of what we're aiming towards, and this is why we wanted to make sure that if you actually go to our mobile app right now, when you create a post at the end, there's a little bar that says "Coming soon, mint as an NFT," and there's a little slider. So essentially, what we want to do is when people will post their content on our app, they will be able to move that slider and then be like, okay, I'm going to set the price and I'm just going to mint this immediately. So that kind of like unification of social media and the NFT platform is what we are aiming for.
You mentioned there just with it being that easy to mint something, what are the checks and balances that you have in play to prevent somebody from, say, going to other content platforms and just stealing sort of, maybe the best content that they can find and just minting it on your network?
Yeah. No, for sure. That's an excellent question. So we are a social app, and we have right now we only have allow like other logins like Apple, Google, and Facebook. We will soon be allowing Twitter as well. So that's kind of like the first step. Other one is verifying your accounts in other different ways, like adding your other social media to your account to verify, like there's the same type of content that's being posted across various different platforms. Another element of this is that we have a gamification system. So we have like a leveling up system where there are certain things that you do and you can get more points and then you can eventually level up. That system is designed for rewarding original content creation and basically interacting within the app. So with functionality like just press mint and that's done, what we want to make sure that happens is that people level up and then they contribute to the community before they're able to get access to this type of functionality. So it's not like you can just like log into this app and then immediately use that feature, because we want to make sure that, again, people are not minting stolen artworks. And we think that artists understand that, but at the same time it's a lot easier to interact with the app for a little while and post legitimate content and connect your other social media to verify yourself than it is to try to learn how to use different wallets, move crypto across these different platforms and do all this other stuff. So we feel like those like gamification features, people understand a lot more these days. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so sort of like making it easy for people to get their foot in the door and start, and then they have to sort of interact a bit before they're given the keys to the castle, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also working on actually I shouldn't talk too much about that part because it's something that we have in the works, but we have other systems that we're working on right now that will allow people to be more kind of verified within their communities. So we will be talking about that like closer to the launch of that particular feature as well.
So touching on your gamification stuff that you were mentioning is, so one thing a lot of social platforms like they struggle with is network effects. So like the more people you have, the more people you're going to attract essentially.
Absolutely.
How you guys, like, what's your philosophy on that essentially?
So, network effects are obviously really important, and like we can see that from what just happened a couple days ago. Even though we did like a big promotion, um, basically I think it was Wednesday, or Thursday. Sorry, we did it on Thursday. We still have people like flocking into that because they see that there was so much engagement. So once you are there and you have this movement going on, people really are very, very attracted to your platform. When there's nothing happening, it can be difficult. So I think that there's few different things here. One of it is simply that we are actually a crypto company and we are partnering with another blockchain company, and we right now what we've been actually able to create even with that giveaway and our entire marketing strategy is buyer's market. So we have a lot of people signed up who are not essentially NFT artists. They are people with mover tokens, they're people with crypto, so they'll be much more interested in buying NFTs than perhaps selling. So I think that there's a balance here, right? Like with artists and content creators, like they're gonna go where they can actually sell. So how do you tap into people who are actually willing to buy? So it's a so that's kind of what we're dealing with right now, and I feel like being able to create buyer's market, and the reason why we can do it as well is because we, as I mentioned, are not only an NFT platform, we also are going to be releasing our token Gem Diamond, and we're talking to a lot of people about our private sale, our pre-sale, and our general token rounds and tokenomics. So we know that we can tap into like the cryptocurrency blockchain crowd for the buyer's market, right? So I think this is kind of one of our main strategies right now, to make sure that there's a lot of people with cryptocurrency who are interested in the platform, and think that this is valuable for the community. And even just after last week, I can see that we are on the right track because I honestly have not expected this to go this crazy. Like, I was prepared for this to go well because we've been working on this for quite a while, but we were really, really surprised. We were especially surprised because the Moonbeam community is so supportive. Like, they had so much organic growth that they've experienced, and because the mover token, that's the token deployed at MoonRiver, has gotten pretty crazy. Like, they launched, I don't know if you guys know what it stands at. So they launched on August 26th, and they expected, I think, like $30. It launched on 90, and right now it's about $400. So they have like a huge, very engaged community that's very excited about their project, and they're also very excited about other projects to provide more utility to MoonRiver and Moonbeam. So um, we think that the network is already there. It's obviously not as big as something like Ethereum, um, but I mean, from our perspective and our philosophy, we have not met a team that has been as supportive as the Moonbeam team. They're fantastic. They're just great people all around, and we like working with people who we like.
Certainly. You mentioned earlier about the gas costs being prohibitive to
Yeah.
both sort of smaller collectors as well as smaller artists in terms of getting their art out there. One thing I've noticed over the last couple months is a lot of smaller projects becoming almost lost on Ethereum, where they've launched and now they have these NFTs that cost, like the gas cost to buy them is more than what they're priced at.
Yes.
Will the technology with Moonbeam there be able to maybe save some of these lost projects by allowing people to potentially trade them over onto other networks? Is that something that's possible, in the long run here, being able to trade NFTs that exist on, let's say, Polygon or Ethereum or whatever?
So we are actually, that's a really interesting question. So I thought you were going somewhere else with this, but I'm happy to answer this as well. So right now it will be very difficult, but there are companies that are working on this, including a few companies that we've been in touch with. There's one called Composable Finance, I think that's what they're called. They're basically working on being able to move assets cross chain, and they're especially like their main thing is NFTs, and that's kind of their domain. But it's still, right now, I think they're focused mostly on moving stuff from Ethereum to Polygon and back. So, and they're going to be adding Polkadot as well and other chains. So the way their system works is that you'll be able to freeze assets on one chain and then release them on the other, and then if you move them back, then you'll be able to do the reverse. So it's a very interesting system that they have going, and it will solve a lot of problems, but it's going to be a while before some of those things are available. And yeah, like, it is very, very heartbreaking for me to see these projects that have created like something pretty cool, and they had a really good community going, and then all of a sudden gas is so prohibitive. Like, I have quite a few tabs open where I just like watch gas and like see what I'm gonna pay to mint certain projects, and I'm like, no, this is just not gonna happen. Like, I think the highest that I've seen gas go to was something like $2,000 for something that normally costs like $120. So I just it's like what are you supposed to do? I mean, I don't know if things are gonna change when Ethereum 2.0 launches, but the problem with that is that it's been in the works for so long, and still we just don't know what's happening exactly with that. And I think moving to the proof of stake is the right move for Ethereum, for various reasons, including sustainability. But I just don't know when that's gonna happen. Does that answer your question? I think that people will be able to move their projects into other chains, but like I don't think that's gonna happen tomorrow.
Gotcha. No. Yeah, I'm just wondering there if like it sounds like you've had that kind of conversation anyway.
Yeah, no, I think we're super interested in working with companies that are working those solutions, because we're essentially, like, even though we're launching on MoonRiver right now, part of Polkadot ecosystem, we're chain agnostic. So we don't have it like, oh, we have to be on this chain or other, because people are asking, what about, Tezos? What about this? I'm like, what about it? I don't know. Like, if we, like, right now, OpenSea is apparently trying to integrate with, Tezos. So I think that the future is interoperability. The future is providing utility to people across multiple different chains. And like, if you think about it, for the most part, people don't care. Like, they don't care if they're minting on this chain or that chain or Schvat chain. Like, what they care about is that it works for them and that it's easy to use. So, like, that's kind of what we have to do. We have to make sure that when designing applications and software, that it's just that the utility is there for the community. Um,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's kind of been my experience with people. Like a lot of my friends, they jump from Ethereum to Solana to Polygon, Tezos, and all these other chains. But you mentioned quite a little bit there. You see the future as interoperability, and that's my total view as well. I think you have to be interoperable in today's kind of
mhm.
ecosystem. But going back to the whole future question, where do you kind of see the future of like social platforms going, and where do you see user fit in to that kind of vision?
Oh, that's a really broad question. It's a visionary type question. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that, I mean, even a few years back, we've already seen Facebook doing their own Libra cryptocurrency. Like, right now, I think Twitter is talking about creating the centralized network. Like, things are gonna go towards this technology naturally, just because of the crazy um, like use case that there is for people, right? Like, there's a reason why all these things are blowing up so much, both DeFi, cryptocurrency, or whatever you want to call it, and the NFTs, is because people are able to make money. So I think that we're kind of through the looking glass on this. Like, that's where things are going to that's what things are going to progress towards. However, from our like really early days, and looking back at how we started, like, I was really mad at what Facebook did, and I still am, because that one decision that they made to disallow content creators on their platform to share content had huge effects on people. We were working with influencers who, like, that was their whole source of income. They would have a company that's like six people running this one Facebook page, and they were able to do that. And all of a sudden, like, that's just kind of it's not allowed. All of a sudden the rules change. Like, if you think about what it means, it's kind of like they have this totalitarian control over their platform, but what they've created is not just a piece of software, it's a community platform. But they can change the rules anytime they want. Like, if you had a government that was just changing rules whenever they want without asking people about anything, like, if you start think like, I like to take examples of like what's happening on the internet and extrapolate them and look at them what's happening in societies, because I feel like it's a really good parallel. Like, we're creating the digital system of like cities and metaverse and all that stuff. Like, that's what we're doing, but we don't have a proper like government. We just have these companies that making arbitrary decisions. So I think that we're looking into the future. This is what's going to happen. We are going to be able to take this decentralized system, which is like, look at democracy. That's a little bit more decentralized. That it's just some rulers saying, no, you cannot do this shit. So we're going to now take these structures, and we're going to try to make them work within the digital space. And I think that a good example of that is DAOs, right? And like what's happening with them. And I think that they're already blowing up a little bit, but they'll blow up more.
So just kind of speaking to that point there, around having sort of trust in the developers to maintain the rules that they have in place and so on. What is there around your sort of like corporate or like token governance? What's in place to prevent the sort of founders or developers from taking advantage of people on your platform?
So this is a really broad question. I think it depends on like various different platforms and how they work specifically. From our perspective, like
what's stopping, like if somebody mints all their artwork on your platform, and they're sort of trusting that to all work, but then rules are changed regarding maybe the percent of like royalty percentages or something like that.
So to speak to that specific example, that's not possible. So like once you mint your NFT, there's certain things that are happening within the smart contracts, and smart contracts are by nature immutable. So you cannot change them. So sure, in the future you can have a rule that changes, and you can have a different smart contract and with different set of rules, and people can choose to participate or not. But it cannot really work like that retroactively, so easily at least. And this is why like a lot of platforms, like when you hear about forking, that's what it is. Like the ecosystem doesn't agree that has to be the case, and then the chain forks, right? So with Polkadot, the system is a little bit more complex. It allows for a certain level of upgradability, but the way it works is that the companies, or essentially the projects or platforms, whatever you want to call them, that are operating different parachains, they are working as sort of like a government system. So they have a certain amount of their tokens staked, and based on that, they're able to make decisions about the future of the whole network. So essentially, it works in a kind of like a democratic way that everybody who has sort of shared interest in this network doing as well as possible has their money staked on that. And when money is on the line, people behave a certain way, as Bitcoin proved, and all the entire world proves that. So when you put money on the line, it's a very different set of behaviors that you see from people that that you would see normally. So I think that that's essentially why you have a lot of terrible behavior on the internet, because people's monies and reputations and things are just not on the line, because they're like, I can do anything, I'm anonymous, I can abuse people, I can do all sorts of stuff. But when you are in a certain ecosystem and you have money staked on this ecosystem doing well, why would you be a bad actor? You know what I mean? So that's what I see is happening. Like there's a sort of an economic layer to the internet that we're all working on right now, and people's mentalities change when it's their own money that's at stake.
No, I guess I'm getting at the larger like sort of fear of anybody deploying their work on like a newer or less tested environment than, like you could say, the OpenSea Ethereum, despite it being OpenSea being centralized and Ethereum having high gas fees and things like this. It's trusted. It's in both in the community and just by virtue of having been around for a long time. So I guess with a new marketplace on a sort of lesser known chain and so on, there's sort of I can imagine there being some hesitancy there from content creators or people looking to invest.
Oh, for sure. And that's definitely a part of it. So it just depends like how you present it, because um I feel like, if you say it this way, oh, it's a new chain, like we don't know what's gonna happen, like we don't know if it's gonna be around, like we don't, like all sorts of stuff. But at the same time, it is and it isn't, because the Moonbeam, they're backed by Polkadot, which has been around for quite a while, like almost as long as Ethereum. At least some of the ideas have been around, because as I said, like it's Gavin Wood who stopped being part of the Ethereum ecosystem and decided that he was going to move towards this project. So like Polkadot Parity, like they've been around for quite a while, and they have a huge backing from the Web3 Foundation, and it's so that entire community is there. It is a very engaged community. It's not as well known as Ethereum, but they're there, and definitely, the work that they've already done proves that, and proves that they're supportive towards other platforms. And you know, um, I think that there's never going to be one platform to rule them all. Like that's
No.
exactly the opposite of what this entire ecosystem is trying to do. So thinking that Ethereum is the only chain that's ever going to make and like that's the only ecosystem that there is, it's just not going to fly with most people who are within this ecosystem, because they're looking for something else. They're looking for the alternative, right? So they understand the importance of innovation, and I feel like that's you just have to talk about it in different terms. Like for example, when it comes to the crypto community, if you say that you are doing like you're first one to do X, people get really really excited about it, and this is partially why we've experienced such a success with our giveaway last week, is because we were like, okay, so we are the first project to do X on MoonRiver, and everybody's like, whoa, this is crazy, this is gonna take off, I have to be a part of it,
You
right?
want to be
So
part of
there's
that genesis, right?
yeah. So people know like what kind of money would people made who participated and bought CryptoPunks way back when, so there's always that, like when money is there, people behave differently. They're like they start FOMOing hard over certain things, and they're like, I want to be part of this ecosystem. This looks cool. What if I miss out? Like, it seems like people are engaged. Like if there's momentum there, it seems like for the most part people want to participate. And I think like obviously there's always going to be people who are like experiencing platform fatigue, and they're like, I can't do another one. I cannot do another one. I can't, so that's totally true. But still, like the adoption of cryptocurrency is still so low. I think it stands on something like 6% in North America. So there's still so many people that will get into this ecosystem that have not experienced it, that are going to be adopted into the folds of these platforms. So I just think that there is so much more room for everybody to grow, that I'm not super worried about this yet. I think it's just too early when it comes to this technology. And as long as people are able to see that they're able to monetize on this platform, that's where they're going to go.
Just sort of going wrapping that back into your sort of existing network that you have on the user app. Um, you said earlier that you're going to convert the sort of existing gems into the on-chain gem diamonds. How is that going to take place, and how are the sort of existing people that are already part of the network going to be rewarded?
So for starters, the right now the only way for people to actually have gemstones is to be part of the platform, because they get rewarded by posting content, essentially getting gems from other people. So when these other people give you gems, then you end up with a lot of gems. So that's kind of the incentive, right? Like if you're interacting within the app, then you're going to have much more to be able to swap into the gem diamond token. Part of the next gem avatars that we did last week, and we're going to be launching them very soon, is that they also have a utility within the app. So we're introducing something that we call Hodler Rewards. So you get rewarded with gemstones by holding onto your NFT next gem avatar. So it's kind of like it gives you a boost. We designed this system with like little powers on the network like years and years ago, and then we had to sort of scrape it because we learned our lesson. And then now this is our next iteration of it, and we're actually super excited about being able to introduce like different utilities on the app that are specifically linked to an NFT. So one of them is that gemstone hodler reward. So if you have the official next gem avatar, then you're gonna get more gemstones. In turn, you're gonna be able to convert them to the gem diamond token. So that's why people would like to would want to interact, because the gem diamond token is also going to have its own specific utility within the platform. Right now, when we launch the NFT marketplace, we will actually allow people to pay for NFTs with Mover. We're not launching the diamond token right on launch of the NFT marketplace. Part of the reason for that is because we want to make sure that everything works as planned, and just test the environment. So we're allowing people to use Mover, but eventually they will be able to purchase NFTs with gem diamonds. And we're also working on other ways to give people liquidity, because that's making sure that there is liquidity on your platform is very, very important. So we're having conversations with like Sushi Swap and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm actually just reading a little bit about that as we're speaking here again. How do you see that sort of playing out in terms of ensuring that when you sort of go live with all this, that there is enough liquidity that it's not
So
a hindrance to kind of growth early on?
So, like I said, first thing is that we're not launching with our own token.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that the marketplace works, that there is enough community, and only then we're going to release our own token. But to tell you the truth, like right now we just have, I don't even know how many DMs I have that just ask like, when is your token launching?
So not
So
not as worried as you could be.
no, like I was worried a little while ago. Honestly, I was worried quite a while ago, but now I'm not. I don't think I am anymore. It's been so many years since we started working on this, and like every single day we learn something new. And since we were able to kind of basically prove that there is so much appetite from the community for this platform, we have a much more confidence in the fact that we are able to provide liquidity. And partially all that has to do with partners and like your business partnerships that you build as you go. And again, like I cannot say enough like how many warm words I have for the Moonbeam team, because they have been amazing, in terms of supporting us through this journey and making sure that we had everything set up and giving us access to resources. And then on top of that, basically being able to set up meetings with other platforms where we can get in touch with them easily and make sure that we have those checks and balances in place. Because I think that from a perspective of a company, you want to make sure that you have these B2B partnerships worked out, and that way you can provide utility to your community members. So the more your ecosystem grows kind of on the back end with your B2B partners, the more utility is provided to your community members as well. So right now we're setting up those conversations not only with like other blockchain companies who are providing like what I said, composable and their token swaps and stuff like that, but also with like liquidity providers as well.
Cool. Going to your roadmap, and you've kind of mentioned in this podcast that what is coming next, such as a gem diamond. Is there anything else in the roadmap that you guys want to talk about?
So, I mean, for starters, like, so we just launched our giveaway last week, and we are going to be launching our full NFT marketplace on MoonRiver this month. Hopefully, that's what we're hoping for. We want to make sure that everything is working properly. Because when you have momentum, it's easy to lose it when you disappoint people. So we want to make sure that we don't disappoint. So when that NFT marketplace launches, we're going to release our the remaining 9,000 of our next gems avatars into the marketplace. And we're also going to have artists who are part of the user community launch, and mint on launch their art pieces. So we're working on like a giant collection that's gonna be available straight when we launch. But that being said, because it's an open platform, people will be able to mint their pieces as they sign up to the platform. And it's not only that we're going to be like creating our own custom collection or something like that. It's going to be an open platform. So that's kind of like the next step. This is all happening this month. Next month, we have some announcements to make more about our pre-sales and our private sale when it comes to our Gem Diamond token. There's a few key meetings that we have this month still that we have to have before we make some announcements that are very important to us. So we're going to be talking more about the Gem Diamonds, the more use cases for Gem Diamond token. We're going to be talking more about like the different rounds that we're doing, and we're also having these conversations, like I mentioned, with the liquidity provider. So we're going to be onboarding people into that program and telling everybody how it's going to work. I would say October now, and we're planning to launch the Gem Diamond token by the end of the year. So that's right now what we are planning based on our timelines. And I want to see what we shared publicly with our roadmap. Let me try to see if I can find that slide, because obviously there's a lot of plans, but there's some things that I just cannot talk about yet. So I just want to make sure that I don't start blabbing on about something that I'm not supposed to be talking about. Give me 1 second.
I think looks like Grit might have it there in chat.
Oh,
if it's a Gitbook.
It's in Gitbooks, I think. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So basically, I think that's kind of what I went over, pretty much all these points. The Stakely Pool launch as well. So, like I said, we're having those conversations. We'll be issuing more information about the liquidity soon as well. But I don't think there's anything else that we're planning for this year, because this is a lot already.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's been a very crazy year for you guys as well, right?
You know what? It's been a crazy couple of years. It's like when you do this kind of work, you just you're just hoping for the best for most part. But like being in the middle of COVID, like what happened, that really put a stop on a lot of plans that we've had. It just basically brought us to square one with some of the integrations that we were working. It was a whole mess. So it is very hard, because you can plan for a lot of things. You can't plan for what happened with COVID. So yeah, that was something. But we didn't let it stop us, and here we are. I mean, another thing that happened, which was crazy, is that we actually wanted to ICO years back. So we were having conversations with like regulators and all that kind of stuff. But like that was back when companies were ICOing based on just like a white paper and stuff like that. And eventually we decided against it, because we just didn't want to go that route and be associated with a project that in a way that might put us sort of on the same line as scammers. And I know there's a lot of legitimate projects that are doing really well, that ICO and all that kind of stuff, but there's also a lot of negativity around that whole process.
Certainly a few years ago there,
yeah. So we were within that process. We were working on that, but we decided that was just not the route we wanted to take.
Right on. Did you have any other?
Pat, did you have any more like pressing questions?
No, I mean, I think we've covered most of what we were talking about earlier. Is there anything else you really wanted to get across there, Unica?
I think that I said a lot of words. So I'm not sure if there's anything that you guys want to sort of more clarification on. Just feel free to ask me. I know that sometimes I get like really up in my head and just try to explain all the details, and I realize that sometimes not that's not what people want. They just want like a straight up answer, and I'm trying to like, okay, but there's so much. It's such a loaded question, there's so much.
Well,
No,
So
no, no.
that's
I,
that's
I,
that's
I
literally
think,
what we're looking for, right? We're
yeah,
really looking for people to give us the long-winded like response that goes
mhm.
into all the context, because that's kind of what we're seeing missing from a lot of these conversations. So
And I think that's a very very good idea. Just applaud you guys for doing this podcast because I do think that that's the case as well. Like I see a lot of very misleading information about cryptocurrency, DeFi, NFTs, and in part that has to do with such a rapid growth of this community. And when we started, even though Bitcoin was launched like 2008, but when we started in this space, most of the people that were involved in it were like people that were a little bit more technical. And if you go to conferences, you mostly meet like developers. And stuff like that, and then all of a sudden there's a lot more people because there's like all trading and crypto traders, and they understand a different part of it, the money making part of it. And then right now with the NFTs, there's a lot of artists. And what we see happen is there's a lot of people who have zero idea about, blockchain and cryptocurrencies, but they know that they can make money making their art and they want to be part of it. And one of the big pitfalls that I see is the opportunities for scammers. It's honestly, that's what breaks my heart. And that's why we actually, from our side, at User, want to do more sort of work that talks about like cybersecurity and like the different details about how to make sure that your wallets are secure, that your crypto is secure, that you're doing certain things to prevent your funds being stolen, your NFTs being stolen, because we see that a lot. And even when when things like this don't happen and it's not stolen, there's other like functionality issues that can happen. You can lose access to your MetaMask, or you can use access to your wallet because you didn't back something up. And it's not the same as going to the bank and saying, no, you have to give me access to this, like I verified myself. Like try to argue with a piece of software. Like once things are lost, they're lost, you will never get them back, you know what I mean? So it's a shift in mentality. And yeah, it's basically you and your computer, and that's all there is to it. And you just have to be there, and you have to make sure that you have all the checks in place to make sure that you don't lose your access. And that's kind of why I think more education around this space, especially when it relates to NFT, is very important, because we want to make sure that people, like new artists, are coming to the space, that they understand the risks as well, right?
mhm.
yeah, no, totally. And yeah, I mean that more or less sums up why we're doing this and what we plan to do with this. It's for people that are already in the space, but they don't have the time or the resources or to know how to get to the next kind of level, I suppose. And I
Hmm.
suppose we're that kind of bridge.
No, that's excellent. I think that's what's needed. More education, more information about this kind of stuff. We actually, I don't know if your audience would be interested in this, but we actually have like a little video clips on our website that just kind of explain different elements. So it's also in Gitbooks. There's like a video
Yeah,
FAQ,
yeah,
and I think there's, I don't even know, like 15. I think we have about 40 videos total. They're not all released. That are just like basically like 15 to 25 minutes like bites about like, this is what NFTs are, this is what gemstones are. Like it talks not only about the sort of DeFi crypto community and like the different terms, but also about like terms that we use within our application. So I find that it's a useful resource. We just published those actually a couple days ago.
no, yeah, I saw those and had a look at a
Mhm.
few of them, and they are very detailed and very well explained. And I think that's a very kind of good resource that we'll probably include in the final report. And yeah, I think that's definitely needed as well, just in general. We just need more ways of communicating these concepts. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's more or less it. If there's no more questions, it's been a pleasure, and what you've kind of explained is exactly what we were kind of looking for with this conversation, and it's been really great to have you here.
Yeah,
Thank you so
I
much.
concur.
No, thank you so much, guys, for having me on this podcast. It's been a while since I recorded a podcast. So thank
No
you
worries,
for
no
giving me
worries.
this opportunity.
No worries, no worries. And yeah, we wish you the best of luck and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good,
Likewise.
good luck with the rest of the rollout of the marketplace there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.